Welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity One-on-One with Larry and Joe.
So Larry, I met Daniel on Twitter. He posted on May 19th and his post was, I want to read it because I think it's such a cool post and I think you could probably relate to this. So this is May 19th, it's already gotten 200 likes. And but he basically says, hey, anyone know any companies looking for remote full-time entry-level security analyst? I've submitted dozens of apps these past 2 weeks, haven't heard much, thanks for your help. So what really struck me about that tweet is, that's really the common theme right now in cyber. And I know, Larry, you can relate to this effort too, right? The difficulty of getting an entry-level position in cybersecurity, despite all the headlines, there's this headline out there that said there's 500,000, unfilled cybersecurity jobs, right? And yet there's like these really unrealistic kind of titles, right? So yeah, I was laughing when I read Daniel's tweet. It said, there's this position he was reading about an analyst position. They wanted up to 5 years experience with former CISO experience. It's crazy. So Daniel, why do you think that is? Why is it so hard? There's 500,000 jobs out there. Why do you think it's so hard for someone that's in IT even to get into cybersecurity? Like, it just seems like this weird, crazy disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like we're seeing a lot of companies, looking for these unicorns that we hear about on social media. People, they're too focused on looking for the people who can already jump in and just hit the ground running and have this senior level knowledge and not need any training. And I think that's really hurting some of these companies. I mean, I think it's really limiting their potential for finding good candidates.
So Joe and Daniel, I talked to this one guy. He's an architect and he's a IT architect. And we were sitting, a developer. We were sitting and we were talking. And I said, and I asked him, I said, so what should I have on my resume? He said, the biggest word, he said, you have to have the passion. He said, all the other stuff really doesn't matter. But when you look in, when you have the passion, what happens is, you look at all the requirements. The requirements to get into IT is, especially cybersecurity, is so big, it kind of dampens your passion because you're like, man, I got to do all this just to be an analyst. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. I know it's certain stuff that you do probably have to know. But he was telling me the biggest thing you have to have is the passion. He said, because I can teach you all this, but he said, I can't teach passion.
Daniel, I'd love to hear from you. Like, what is it about cybersecurity that first kind of interested you? Like, why cyber, right? You were in IT. What's your kind of main driver for wanting to get into cybersecurity?
Yeah, so this is a fun question. I think my interest started back when I used to work as a police officer. I ended up going to a few workshops about digital forensics and crime scene investigation and using OSINT for social media investigations. And that was fascinating to me. Once I started seeing, I wasn't really into tech at the time. I mean, I liked my gadgets and things like that. But once I get introduced to forensics and seeing how you could just get an image of someone's machine and then analyze you could see all the history, all the from the memory to the disks. I mean, it was fascinating to me, and I think I was hooked from there. After a few years in law enforcement, I didn't really, I decided it wasn't really for me, and I had this interest in tech and IT, so I started to transition into tech from there, and got in as a computer repair for a couple of years. I was working on my degree at the time as well, and the degree program is in integrated studies with a focus in web development. They kind of took all my life experience and from the military and law enforcement and just kind of threw it all together in this mishmash, kind of a general studies. And so I took some security classes and eventually transitioned into this computer repair job, and then a web development job opened up as well in the college, and I thought that'd be kind of cool because I was getting interested in coding and the web technology.
Gotcha.
So I jumped on that, and that's what I've been doing for the past 6 years.
Hey, so one thing you guys both share in common, you guys were both in the Navy together, and there's this, or maybe not.
Navy, baby.
But there's this cool, so Daniel, there's this tweet that you had that I thought Larry would appreciate, so I want to read it for Larry's benefit here. You said, IT is reminding me of my experience with military training. Yes, I failed my first test in core school and got set back a class. I was told by the head instructor I wouldn't be successful. I failed another test midway through training and had to go to academic review board. They liked my drive, my motivation, like Larry just said, passion, right? Which allowed me to continue to get criticism from the head instructor, passed everything from them on despite pressure and criticism. Should have seen the look on the head instructor's face when he had to shake my hand at graduation. I just love that story. You know, that just shows perseverance, never quitting, the passion and drive it must have taken to kind of overcome, you know, that experience and stuff. But anything you want to fill in on that story, Daniel? I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that brings back a lot of memories for sure. It was an interesting experience. I mean, you know, when I first got there, you know, one of the first things we had to do, I remember, was learn basic life support and CPR. And, you know, I had never been around that before. I had never had any of that training. And you know, I did my studying just like everybody else. And our first attempt at it, you know, I had this instructor, and he was just terrifying. And he would, anytime I stumbled, he would just berate, you know, he would just yell at me, and it was, you know, it was a terrible experience. And so I ended up failing, getting set back, and got a fresh start, which was good. Really stayed on top of my studying, and, you know, I was like, I don't care what this guy thinks, I'm going to show him, you know. And I just really stuck to the books, and I took every opportunity I had to study. And yeah, I remember the second time I failed, because I think it was 3 times. If you fail 3 times, you were released, and, you know, a different career path was chosen for you at some point, you know, right. Which was also terrifying, because I really wanted to be a medic. And so yeah, after the second time I failed, I had to go to review board. You know, I showed them, you know, they asked for my notes, and, you know, they wanted proof that I wanted to be there. And, you know, they looked through my notes, my books, and they saw all these highlights and all my notes and everything. And they were like, wow, okay, like, you're really trying. Like, I can see you really want to be here. And that made me feel a lot better. And they let me go back to class. And, you know, from then on, it was just like, it was a little on edge. I admit it was still a little terrifying, but you know, you just got to stick with it, man. I mean, if you really want to do something, just stick to it, you know.
So I see a common, you know, element there with what you're going through now, right? You're you know, hitting the books, you're certifying, you're not giving up. So that same drive, you know, still there.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's been a very similar type of experience. I mean, going through some of these certifications has been great. You know, lifts my spirits, feels good. And then I get more interviews, and I mean, I admit it's frustrating, you know, getting the rejections, and but I mean, that's part of the process. You know, it just I think it only makes you stronger. You know, if you're passionate about something and you have the drive and the motivation, you know, figure out your why. You know, if it's something you really want to do, you'll get there. As tough as it is, I mean, it can drag you down, but, you know, just hang in there and keep at it. That's
now the that why is so important. One of the things Larry wants to eventually do, I think, is he wants to get into penetration testing. And I noticed one of the tests you took is the Pentest beta exam. Can you tell Larry a little bit about that exam? And because I think that's also I think maybe what you guys possibly might share in common a little bit as well. I noticed, you know, you do the hack the box and the try hack me, these various things. So I want to get into that next, but first, tell us a little bit about that pen test beta exam.
So yeah, I went through a Udemy course taught by Jason Dion, and it was for the first version. And I was watching some of his reviews about the second version, and he was saying it's pretty much the same. If you're comfortable with the first version, you should be okay with the second. So I figured I would give that a shot, and I didn't realize that I wouldn't get the results until the exam was officially released later in the year. So I took the exam, and I felt really good about it. I was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to see my score. And then like get to the end, and it's like, okay, you'll get your score when it's released later in the year. And I was a little bummed, but it was interesting. It was a lot of Nmap, a lot of scripting output, a lot of methodology about different approaches to pen tests and vulnerability assessments, and I don't remember a ton about it.
Gotcha.
But
do you think the like the hack the box and that kind of stuff that you've been spending a lot of time on, what do you think out of all those activities, what do you think helped prepare you the most for that exam? What would you recommend for Larry to maybe spend time on?
Definitely. So one thing that I've really enjoyed is Try Hack Me. I don't know if you've ever heard of Try Hack Me.
Okay.
They have an actual pen test plus career path that you can take, and it was awesome. I mean, you go through different modules, and they kind of walk you through different scenarios, and you get a chance to get exposed to different tools and technologies, and a lot of that was on the exam.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend Try Hack Me.
Try Hack Me. So tell for someone that's listening and they've never actually done one of those kind of websites, tell us about that experience. Like, just imagine you're talking to someone who's never even been on one of those sites before. What is Try Hack Me, and what's that experience like?
Oh man. So Try Hack Me it's a website that trains you on how to hack. It teaches you about how the web works, how networks work, how certain types of programs work, teaches you the different tools and skill sets needed to learn how to navigate the web and hack into different technologies and exploit vulnerabilities.
So kind of an introductory to hacking kind of course. Now, you've done a few of these, like Hack the Box, Code Academy, Range Force, Cyber Defenders. Like you've done a variety of those. Is Try Hack Me the one that you'd recommend Larry kind of start with, or folks like Larry, or is there a different site that you'd recommend first before that one?
I think I would definitely recommend Try Hack Me. You get a broad range of, it really teaches you from the beginning, from network fundamentals. So you start with the fundamentals, and it gets a little harder as you progress through. And I would definitely recommend Try Hack Me. I really enjoyed that one for sure.
And then I noticed you have Hack the Box. How does that compare to Try Hack Me?
So Hack the Box is, so they recently came out with Hack the Box Academy. Hack the Box itself was a little more challenging to sort of figure out. You have to actually hack your way in to create an account. And so if you want to go sign up, you'll go to the sign up page, and it'll say, okay, go ahead and figure out how to get in. You have to actually, you can use a little bit of Googling to figure it out, but you have to hack your way in to create an account. And once you're in, you can choose different boxes or different challenges. It's kind of like a CTF, capture the flag. So you choose a box based on level of difficulty, and so they don't really have. You kind of actually have to have the knowledge if you're just on Hack the Box.
So you can't just start with Hack the Box. You really need to go through Try Hack Me first to get some skills before advancing to that one. And then tell us about Code Academy.
Code Academy is fun. I've been using that for many years. Started back in college. It's just a great introduction to programming. That's where, if you ever want to get into coding or learn how to read a certain type of language, I would recommend Codecademy. It's a great introductory to many different programming languages.
And based on like what you've been learning, is Python like the, you know, in your opinion, right, to Larry, is Python the most important scripting language, or one of the first scripting languages he should try to develop? Or what do you recommend?
I think Python is the most recommended. It's definitely one of the easier ones to read. So yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely go with Python as a first language. Some of the first ones I were exposed to were, you know, like some of the web languages like HTML and PHP.
Gotcha.
But yeah, as far as like for pen testing and learning how to do some scripting and creating some tools for learning how to create some scanners, or yeah, I would definitely use Python for sure. It's a good one to start with.
All right, I've got two more that I've never heard of. I want to also hear your opinion or your experience with. Tell us about Range Force and then Cyber Defenders.
Yeah, so Range Force, I just learned about that recently. It's, how can I describe it? So they have different career paths they call battle paths. And I worked through this one called, it was a SOC Analyst 1 battle path. And each path has, I think, 10 modules that you walk through, and each module has 3 different exercises and a challenge at the end of each exercise. And it walks you through different scenarios, like actual real world type of scenarios. For instance, the most recent one I did, you know, it gives you like an overview of like a basic overview of a technology like PowerShell. So it'll give you a quick intro of PowerShell. And then the next module, you'll probably use PowerShell to create some sort of script in Active Directory to work your way through some exercise. And there was one module where I got to work with, sorry if I butcher the name, I think it's Suricata, Intrusion Detection System. And you know, it had to log into a firewall and read the log output, and then you would create a rule to alert you if if a certain activity took place, and then you could go in and adjust the rule to block the activity. And I mean, it was just really neat. It's actual hands-on type of
That's
stuff.
awesome.
And it was like I felt really confident about working with it after I completed these modules, and that's what I love about it. It was just
so it was a pretty effective training like experience. It's something you'd recommend as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
I think they have a community version. I was lucky enough to be selected for a premium battle path earlier in the year, which is how I got my introduction to it. But yeah, I think they have a community version that you can sign up for and work your way through different modules.
And then last one, and thanks for sharing all your experience here. Tell Larry a little bit about what Cyber Defenders is.
So Cyber Defenders is a blue team capture the flag type of platform that has different exercises for like I guess you could say the blue team type of career path. I worked through a couple that, so you download the exercise and then it walks you through questions, and it gives you a scenario, and you got to go through and analyze the Splunk output, look through the activity and figure out the answers to the questions and work your way through. They have everything from reverse engineering malware to working with Splunk to working with some different tools. I think I remember Flare, which is is it a Mandiant tool? I forget. But yeah, it gives you a chance to work with different tools in a local setting, and you download it and experiment with it and get a chance to get some hands-on training with one of the tools.
That reminds me, I saw one of your tweets. It looked like you were really enjoying the malware analysis. Tell us a little bit about about that.
Yeah, I just thought it was pretty cool to be able to. I enjoyed I guess the hunt, the sorting through the puzzle pieces to see how the malware was put together. I thought that was really cool, getting to know the different types of methods to take them to reverse engineer.
That reminds me a little bit about you. You had some exposure to digital forensics, which is kind of similar. I mean, it's different, right? Malware analysis and reversing it, figuring out what it's doing and everything is obviously one kind of skill, kind of a super niche kind of area of information security. I think Marcus Hutchins is the guy who found the kill switch in WannaCry, and so he's actually probably the most famous reverse engineer for malware probably ever, right? Because he basically stopped WannaCry from destroying the world, basically, right? But the digital forensics is very similar, right? You're looking through a hard disk, and oftentimes you clone a hard disk and you're looking for evidence of a crime or whatever for the investigators. Do you see some similarity there in terms of like, and kind of where I'm going with this question is kind of maybe potential interest in a career path or a position? Even is digital forensics an interesting possibility for you for a future career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what initially got me interested in this field. It's been an interesting journey for the past 6 months or so. I've been sort of jumping all around, getting the hang of what's out there and seeing all the different paths and different types of jobs and different tools and technologies. And yeah, forensics is definitely something I would love to pursue at some point in the future, along with malware engineering. And
that's cool. Definitely. Yeah, there's so many interesting parts, right, Larry? And so there's one program that Larry recently learned about. Daniel, I'm curious if you've ever heard of it. It's called the Microsoft MSSA Academy. Have you ever heard of that, Daniel?
No, never heard of that.
Larry, could you tell Daniel a little bit about the Microsoft Academy?
So the Microsoft Academy is mainly for veterans, for military people, and it's kind of a beginning into Microsoft. So it's a lot of math and stuff like that. I didn't get that deep into it because I was going to school at the time, so it was just that, and work was killing me. But I went to a couple of the sessions, and it's pretty intense. It's you start off, of course, everything you always start off with the basics of Microsoft and stuff like that. But you start, from what I gather, you get into Microsoft Defender, you get into a lot of the other intricacies of Microsoft, from what I gather.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you got to check that out, that academy. And once I'm done with this school and all the interesting stuff that you suggested to me, like the Try Hack Me, I think I'm gonna try that one first. I'm gonna definitely go back to try the Microsoft Academy out again.
Yeah,
it's intense. It's it was every Tuesday, and I think Tuesdays and Thursday, and it was 3 o'clock, or no, it was 12 o'clock Pacific time. So that's probably 3 o'clock your time.
And it's all virtual now. It used to be you would actually have to go, I think, physically, in person. Yeah. But I believe they've just transitioned it to virtual. But yeah, it's one of the guys I knew went through there, and then he became a SOC analyst for NASA, and the program definitely helped prepare him for that. And I've had the pleasure of meeting a few folks that have graduated from there, and they've gone on to they've got a good placement program. But this is just a way that Microsoft kind of gives back to to veterans that serve the country. You know, it's a Microsoft picks up all the cost for it, which is great. From my perspective, it's good because most businesses actually run, you know, Microsoft software, whether it's Office 365 or Azure. Microsoft is now kind of becoming a pretty prominent player in the security area, as you guys are probably, you know, seeing, you know, the Gartner and the Magic Quadrants and all the different kind of industry analysts are now kind of ranking Microsoft up pretty high in terms of you know, defense capabilities, right? So whether it's Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, Defender for Office, these tools are you know, definitely um, gaining prominence. And you know, selfish little thing for me, of course, is that's what I do. My day job is actually helping companies implement the Microsoft technologies to defend their organizations from hackers. So my interest, of course, is you know, hiring folks that have Microsoft security skills is primarily what we look for when we hire. So back to you guys though here. Daniel, I saw you got some recent hands-on experience with Carbon Black, which is one of my competitors. But it was interesting. It looked like you had an opportunity to kind of use it in investigating ransomware a little bit. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so that was a really cool experience. So I've been fortunate enough to work with a company on a part-time basis, and you know, it's with a fellow veteran who reached out to me from an earlier tweet and brought me on to kind of get some real world experience and teach me some things. And he's been a great mentor, and it's been a really awesome experience. And yeah, so recently I was able to work with this Carbon Black tool to help find some ransomware activity. And like, I don't want to be too critical of Carbon Black, but it was the experience was pretty bad. I think the interface, you know, the UI was tough to navigate. I would recommend maybe trying a different EDR.
Gotcha. But tell us about the ransomware. Was it interesting? Was that your first ransomware encounter? Any lessons learned there? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was my first encounter with ransomware. As I was trying to get the hang of the tool and the interface, I was scrolling through some of the activity, and I just noticed a pattern of this text, and I reached out and I was like, guys, I'm seeing this strange text. Is this anything that you're seeing in the reverse engineering of the malware? So as I was working with the EDR, I was trying to create a watch list to alert us when any of the IOCs would show up or pop up in the activity. And I was just seeing this pattern of this strange text. And as I would drill down further, I saw the task scheduler, which was, I guess, the persistence mechanism, which was obviously making the ransomware reoccur upon a certain activity. And yeah, so that was my part in that, finding
Gotcha.
this pattern. And then after showing the guys the pattern, and we drilled down further, and I was like, oh, there's the task schedule. That's the root cause right there. Like, good find. That was pretty cool. So
that is cool.
I got a question. That's pretty much forensics right there that you're doing.
Yeah, I guess. I guess you could say it's forensics. Yeah.
That's what the forensics would do. They would go down that deep rabbit hole.
Part of the incident response process. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like when you're trying to identify areas of persistence, like his malware, you know, embedded in, say, the run once key, or, you know, different areas of the disk where it wants to, you know, persist after reboot. Yeah, there's definitely a forensics element to that. That's true. Yeah, some of these skills definitely cross over into different disciplines for sure. So Daniel, one of the things Larry's super interested in is Linux. He is just, he was exposed to Linux and he just really digs it. I saw you took the LPI Linux Essentials exam recently, and I know Larry's very interested in that. What did you use to prepare or study for that exam?
So I actually used, again, I used the Udemy. It was another Jason Dion course. So if you haven't picked up on it already, I'm a big fan of Jason Dion's material. He's got a website, I think it's called diontraining.com. But yeah, I just love the way he explains the concepts and the material. And so I used his Udemy course for that. And
Okay.
I think I actually also, on the LPI website, they have their own courses available,
Okay.
or texts. And I sort of went through the Linux Essentials text just to sort of brush up before I actually hit the exam.
Okay, cool.
So that was super helpful too.
That's huge, right, Larry? Just a tip like that, like which Udemy course, to help prepare. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love Udemy. So if you're ever on there and you wait until they have their sales, which is usually, it seems like it's all the time, every couple of weeks or every holiday, they have some sort of sale, and you can just pick up some courses and put them in your collection and check them out later. But yeah, all sorts of good stuff on Udemy.
Cool.
Yeah. That was a fun exam. I love Linux myself, and it was pretty fun. It was like 40 questions. Pretty simple, pretty high level kind of stuff. So
okay,
it was definitely, it was pretty fun.
I do have one. So have you took your Security Plus?
Yeah, I did. I did the Security Plus back in February, March.
a couple months ago. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking mine next week. So any recommendations? Well, of course, besides the school material I have, you have any recommendations?
Something that helped me was at the beginning of the test. So like the first 5 questions are usually like hands-on drag and drop type questions, so different scenarios. I would save those for last. Go through all the multiple choice first, and then
Do the hand drags.
Go back to review the ones that you skipped earlier.
And so Daniel, it sounds like you've taken a lot of exams. Or which certifications do you currently have?
Yeah, so for cybersecurity, I've taken the Security Plus. Recently, the Linux Essentials. I've taken the Pentest Plus Beta exam, which Apple certified Mac Tech back when I worked in computer repair at the college. I have a few for web development as well, which I don't think they're as relevant, but I have certified Acquia Drupal site builder certifications as well for working with Drupal open source software. Yeah, I have quite a few, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something I try to press upon in an interview, is just that, I may not have, the experience right now. I may not check all of the boxes, but I have these other intangibles that I can sort of carry over from past experiences, from working in law enforcement or healthcare. I can, as a police officer, I had to do a lot of reporting and investigating, and those types of skills are definitely useful in cybersecurity. So,
right.
Right. Yeah, things like that. I try to hit on things like that, and it's just, yeah. Again, I may not have all the experience, but it's something I definitely love. There isn't anything else I'd rather do. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like you're working. You can just get caught up in it for hours trying to learn something or solve a puzzle somewhere. It's so much fun. And yeah, I would just love an opportunity to really get some full-time experience. And
absolutely.
Just, hey, just keep your passion going. That's something that, sometimes with me, it's like, oh man, I really want to get into it, but it's, it seems like those doors are never open, but just keep the passion and the faith.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, it'll work out, I guarantee it.
Yeah, you as well. I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey and
Oh
how
yeah,
you do as well. So
it's still ongoing. It's fun. It's interesting. I just started a new job as a tester, so it's a lot of data entry and stuff like that. But my end goal is to definitely get into cybersecurity, even just to start off as a SOC analyst. I can start off at the lowest level. I don't really care, just to get in there, get the experience, get the the know-how, and then just work my way up from there.
Yep, and that's the goal of this podcast, right? We're going to keep this show going until Larry gets his cybersecurity job. We're kind of journaling the experience, and I think Dan, you started a website here recently, kind of similar kind of idea in mind, right? Kind of journaling your experience. Is that a good way for someone to get a hold of you, Dan, or if there's someone interested in connecting with you? Would you like us to link to your LinkedIn, or how best can we get people to connect with you?
Yeah, my website would be fine.
Yeah, so if you want to connect with Daniel, it's CyberSecDan. So that's cybersecdan.com. And feel free to connect with Daniel there if you know of anyone hiring for a position in cybersecurity. You've got a chance to hear a little bit about Daniel's background. Similar, if you've got an entry-level position, SOC analyst, for Larry, please connect with him. We've got his information on the podcast show as well. Want to thank you both. This was fun. A really good, really fun time getting to know you, Daniel. And let's keep in touch. And please let us know when you get that position so we can update the show notes for this particular podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. This was a blast. I appreciate it.